Haribol, namaste. Sorry, a bit late today. Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Asiriko Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nityananda Nityananda Gauranga Gauranga Nityananda Nityananda Gauranga Gauranga Radha Krishna Vrindavan Radha Krishna Vrindavan Radha Krishna Vrindavan Radha Krishna Vrindavan Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajika Satara Satta Shishimad Jagakuru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajika Satara Satta Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Asadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Nitai Goes World Mission Ki Jai Navadvip Dhamma Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Mayapur Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Amagina Timarandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Statpitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanan Pavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Maum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Iti Namine Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. For speaking first I offer my humble obeisances, the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagakuru Siddhaswarupananda Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna. Having taken shelter at his lotus feet, Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, and is very dear to Radha and Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the fallen living entities, and are full of compassion upon them. Haribol, Namaste. Krishna Krishna, thanks for watching, either now or later. So those prayers I just recited there, the Mangala Charana or auspicious invocation, and these can be found at the beginning of the introduction to Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we're, a transition tonight. We finished chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita last week, and we're now beginning chapter 5, which Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And I put a PDF in a post in my Bhagavad Gita class private group, and so nice if you can look at that or follow along with that. So we're going to start tonight just giving a brief summary or overview of chapter 5, and then we'll then also talk about the sequences of verses in the chapter, and then briefly just discuss the connection to chapter 4, what's linking these two chapters together. Then we'll talk about chapter 5, text 1. So a summary of chapter 5, the chapter begins with Arjuna asking Kṛṣṇa to tell him which is better, work or renunciation of work. In other words, karma Kama Yoga, or sannyas. So we're going to talk about this at length in a minute, but this is where the chapter starts. Starts with, chapter 4. Krishna has Krishna's been describing transcendental knowledge and nishkama kama yoga, and and Arjuna is confused. We need to keep in mind Arjuna is like, he's not really wanting to fight. So whenever Krishna sort of says anything about sannyas or renunciation or jnana, knowledge, then Arjuna sort of takes it that, oh, maybe Krishna's telling me I don't have to fight. So he kind of likes that idea because he doesn't want to fight, not because he's a coward or anything, although Krishna points out to him, your enemies will accuse you of being a coward in chapter 2. They'll accuse you of being a coward if you don't fight. But Arjuna is like, he's just not wanting to fight against his relatives. I mean, what a painful situation. Not just fight, like we all perhaps we bicker with our relatives. We don't particularly look forward to that. It's like, oh no, gonna have to bicker with my relatives, gonna have an argument with my spouse, or I got to deal with one of my kids and they're being difficult, or I got to deal with my parent. I remember I used to not look forward to having to talk to my father, because my father would always be hassling me. He'd always be like, anyway, I won't go into that. Anyway, he's left this world at this point. He was a good father who had what he felt were my best interests at heart. But anyway, we don't look forward to arguments or disagreements with our relatives. What to speak of having to engage in an armed conflict with them and actually kill them. Which of course, this is what did happen. Arjuna did engage in an armed conflict with his relatives, and he killed many of them. This is painful. Arjuna is not wanting to do it. So any kind of inference that Krishna is giving, that you can engage just in jnana or meditation or sannyas and renounce the world, renounce action or duties, Arjuna is like, oh, okay, tell me more about that. Anything where Krishna is talking about, no, you should perform your duty. Arjuna he's taking that as, oh, I'm confused. Why are you telling me that? You're telling me on one hand that I don't have to fight, and then on the other hand, you're telling me to fight. So anyway, so this is Arjuna's, this is the verse we're going to be just speaking it more on. Anyway, so Arjuna asked Krishna to tell him which is better, which is Shreyas, which is most auspicious, which is better, to work, perform my duty, engage in kama yoga, or to renounce work, sannyas. So Krishna says that work and devotion, kama yoga, is better than renunciation, sannyas, of work. It's in text 5.2. And Krishna goes on to say, only the ignorant speak of kama yoga as being different from analytical study, sankhya. So in chapter 2, or in chapter 3, Krishna described basically what he'd been talking to Arjuna about you're not the body, you're the possessor of the body, you're eternal, you're spiritual in essence, you're sat, not asat, sat, eternal. You're immutable, unchangeable, imperishable, not able to be slain with weapons, or moistened by water, or wet by water, or cut by the wind, dried by the wind. Of course, Arjuna has these kind of weapons, wind weapons, water weapons. Krishna's telling him in chapter 2, no, these kind of weapons, they can't kill you. They kill the body, the deha, but you, the dehi, the possessor of the body, you can't be killed. You can't be impacted by these weapons. So when Krishna is describing this later, at the beginning of chapter 3, he says that he's been discussing Sankhya. Sankhya means the analysis of this material world. So there's, Lord Kapila Dev in Canto 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes Sankhya at length, analyzing the material elements into, generally it's done into 24 different material elements, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, ahankara, and the different senses and the sense objects, then the soul, being the 24th element, and then super soul, sometimes described as being the 25th element. And so anyway, this kind of analysis is known as Sankhya, or Sankhya Yoga. So when Krishna is describing to Arjuna that he's not the body, that he's distinct from the body, he refers to this as Sankhya. And so Krishna says, only the ignorant speak of Karma Yoga as being different from analytical study. One who sees that the path of works and the path of renunciation are one, sees things as they are. This is our text 5.5. So there's a yoga ladder, right? A process of engaging in yoga. And this begins from somebody who's, it begins with animal life, right? We're in this material world due to our desire to be the enjoyer. Then anyone who has this desire to be the enjoyer, to desire separately, or to enjoy separate from the Supreme Person, we are then in this material world where we have the opportunity to try and be the enjoyer. And so the purpose of why we are here is so that we can gradually engage in the path of yoga, climb up the rungs of the yoga ladder, and eventually be able to link up in yoga with the Supreme Person, to unite. Right? This is the purpose of why we're here. So this Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga are all different rungs on the yoga ladder. They're all like on the continuum of yoga. So in that sense, they're non-different. They're just different stages suitable for different people at different points of realization. So so Krishna is describing that one who sees that the path of works or karma and the path of renunciation, sannyas, or tyaga, to detachment, are one, sees things as they are. One who works in devotion, yoga yuktaha, so in other words, one who's in yoga, in union with the Supreme, though always working, is never entangled. One in divine consciousness knows that only the materials and senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. This text 5.10. So Krishna is describing the wonderful nature of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is purifying, brings one to the point of knowledge. Bodily activities are enacted by the material modes of nature. Verse 14. Ignorance covers the embodied being's real knowledge. But when one is enlightened, his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. This is a wonderful analogy or example of how wonderful transcendental knowledge is. It's like we're in the darkness of ignorance. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of transcendental knowledge. So this is Oma Gina Timarandasya, Gina Gina Shalakaya, Chaksurun Militanyena, Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha. My spiritual master opened my eyes, removed the ignorance. Sometimes this ignorance is described as being like the spiritual master applies a salve, like our eyes are shut, we can't see anything as it is. And the spiritual master, through his instructions, is like applying a salve to our eyes so that we can sort of get them open and start to see what's the reality of this material world. Or it's described as a torchlight, with the torch of transcendental knowledge. Right? It's like we're in a dark room, we have the ability to see, but it's dark, so we can't see anything. Can't see things as they are. So then the spiritual master, through his instructions, and Kṛṣṇa through his instructions in Bhagavad Gita, is like shining a light, turning on a flashlight. Now I can see what's going on. Of course, in the Chaito Shloki, the 4 essential seed verses of Bhagavad Gita are what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti described as being similar to the Chaito Shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 33 to 36. These are described as the seed verses of the Bhagavatam when Lord Vishnu enlightens Brahmaji, Lord Brahma. He speaks these 4 seed verses from which Bhagavatam expands. So anyway, in the Chaito Shloka, what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur likened as the Chaito Shloka of Bhagavad Gita, these 4 verses in chapter 10, texts 8 to 11, Kṛṣṇa describes that to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. And then further describes that with the light of knowledge, he enlightens them. Right? So again, this analogy that knowledge is like light. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, of course, used to always, he would say that, that ignorance is darkness, and Godhead is light, right? So, it's a very good analogy, this light of transcendental knowledge. And so it's not also like further, it's like not just light so you can see, but in the light we become light-hearted. When we're covered in the darkness of ignorance, we're carrying around the weight of the world on our shoulders. The weight of ignorance, of fearfulness, Maya. This world is a dangerous place. Lord Brahma explains in chapter 14 of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that padam vipadam, at every step there is danger. Right? We know what's going to happen. Every morning when I get up and I have to come out and turn on a light, I'm looking to see is there centipedes. I've had centipedes come in the past. It's like, there's danger at every step. I'm going to step on a centipede, Well, there's danger when you go for a morning walk, and chanting japa. But it's like usually it's dark, so I have to be very careful. Is a car going to hit me, right? Because this being Hawaii, they don't have sidewalks. When I go to Australia, of course, there's all these wonderful sidewalks. When you walk down the street, there's a sidewalk. You don't have to worry about cars hitting you. But here, there's no sidewalk, so you have to walk on the edge of the road, and there's cars coming. You've got to worry, do they see me? You have to wear the white kind of clothes, and you should have a reflector thing, Anyway, so there's danger at every step. Am I going to get mugged? Am I going to get assaulted? Is war going to break out? Is there going to be a riot? When there was the fires here in Hawaii, in Lahaina, that was big news around the world. Like the next morning I'm watching some news about it, and the Lieutenant Governor comes on and says she's worried there's going to be riots. I mean, like this woman's ridiculous. Why is she talking about riots? There's just like 100 people have lost their lives, thousands of people lost their homes, and she's talking about she's worried about riots. That just seemed like ridiculous. But anyway, the point is like, people in Lahaina, they had no idea this fire was going to destroy the entire town, and that a bunch of them were going to get killed, and they're going to try and escape, and the police are blocking the roads. No, you can't escape this way, so they have to go back in, and the traffic jams and the fires coming, and some of them were like, heck, we're just going to go and jump in the harbor, And some of them who even jumped in the harbor still died from smoke inhalation, or whatever the cause was. So anyway, at any moment, death can come. Suddenly we can just, we'll regret. Oh, we go to the doctor. Suddenly I've got a diagnosis. Oh, you've got some kind of cancer. It's like, oh my God, that's terrible. Now I've got to have more tests. Now I've got to go through all kinds of anxiety. So anyway, there's danger at every step. Danger at every step. And so, like Kṛṣṇa is saying here, in this 16th verse of the chapter, but when one is enlightened, so when one is enlightened with transcendental knowledge, so we receive this wonderful gift of transcendental knowledge from our spiritual master and Kṛṣṇa. Guru Kṛṣṇa Prasadi Pai. So by the mercy of the spiritual master and Kṛṣṇa, we receive the seed of the Bhakti Lata Bija, the Lord Chaitanya's teaching to Srila Rupa Goswami. Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Kṛṣṇa Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. Brahmanda Brahmate. This means wandering. Wandering, we're just like wandering throughout the universe. From lifetime after lifetime, and the cycle of birth and death, samsara. So we're wandering throughout the universe. Brahmanda Brahmate. The Brahmanda is the universe. Brahmate is we're just wandering from here to there. Take birth here, take birth there, lifetime after lifetime. Inconceivable number of lifetimes. We think this life is everything, but it's just one life out of who knows how many millions. We were talking about Bhagavatam last night. Hiranyakashipu is trying to mollify his relatives. His sister-in-law, whose husband, Hiranyaksha, has just been killed by Lord Varaha. And then there's also his mother, Diti, who's devastated. Oh, my wonderful demoniac son has been killed. And he has lots of kids. So Hiranyakashipu, even though a great demon, he's still understanding you're not the body. So he's trying to speak to his relatives. And one of the first to help them deal with their lamentation, with their grief at the loss of their father or son or husband. So first thing he says is that, we're not the body, this family, we have no real connection with our family members. It's just like he likens it to a traveler stopping at a restaurant. I don't know that that's Bhaktivedanta Swami's using the term restaurant in his translation, or a place where you drink water. So there's like a well, travelers are going through, they're coming to a well and getting a drink of water out of the well. You know, and then there's other people doing the same thing. Or you go into a restaurant and there's other people in the restaurant. You know, and you come in contact with them, you have some dealing with, oh, hi, how are you? You know, you have a little bit of a chat or whatever. And then, oh, I got to move on. I'm moving on now. You know, so this is what family life is. It's like coming into a restaurant, sitting at a table with some people, chatting for a while, and then you move on. So this coming into the restaurant is like birth. And the people that I'm chatting with are my family members, my mom, my dad, my siblings. You know, of course, and this is all arranged perfectly. We get the right siblings and the right parents so that we reap the results of our previous activities and have the opportunity to fulfill or attempt to fulfill our desires from past lifetimes. You know, and then when the leaving the restaurant is death. And then you leave and you never see these people again. Or even if you do happen to see them in a future life, you've got no idea that you had some previous relationship with them. You know. So, you know, but one is enlightened with transcendental knowledge and you can see things as they are. You know, it's like, as Kṛṣṇa says here, but when one is enlightened, so in other words, we see with knowledge, our whole heart is lightened, we're not bearing the heavy burden of fear. We become self-realized, knowing our true identity. We understand our relationship with others and with the Supreme Lord, that we're the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. You know, this knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. One fixed in equanimity, seeing with equal vision, not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects. You know, I put a quote in Facebook a few days ago. You know, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada described, you know, what is not like the basis of spiritual life, you know, is knowledge and renunciation. What is knowledge? Knowledge is understanding I'm not this material body. What is renunciation or detachment? Understanding that I'm not this material body, I realize I have nothing to do with this material world. Right? So I become detached. Not because I'm hard-hearted, but it's because I realize the reality. This doesn't mean that I don't care about other people or care about things. It just means I see the reality. So I have detachment. I appreciate, well, this body, it's going to die. Why? It's not me. It's something I possess. Its very nature and essence is asat, or temporary. So why am I upset when it dies? You know, this is like what Kṛṣṇa described in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, after describing another body. Then he also described, you know, that, you know, it's one who is born, for one who is born, death is certain. For one who dies, birth is certain. You know, this is just the nature of life. What is there to lament about this? So such a person, seeing with equal vision, is equanimity, samatvam, seeing everything equally, happiness and distress. Certain amount of happiness comes, certain amount of distress comes. It's like the Kṛṣṇa says, 2:14, Machaspasis to Konteya, Sitoshna, Shukadukadaha. You know, the Shukaduka, happiness and distress, are just like Sitoshna, the coming of the summer and winter seasons. It's not like when summer comes, I get it all on a huge bummer. Or winter comes, I'm on a huge bummer. Right? Oh, I really love summer. Oh, it's winter, I'm all depressed and on a bummer. You know, these just come. You know, in his purport, Bhaktivedanta Swami talks about, well, you know, it's summer, but you still have to cook. You have to cook in front of the hot fire, you know, if you don't have electricity or whatever, don't have air conditioning, you still have to cook. And in winter, you still have to bathe, whether you got hot water or not. So, this is just the nature of life. One just accepts it. Appreciating that I'm not this body. And samatvam also means seeing equally others with equal vision. Like in this chapter, I think it's text 18. Krishna says the humble sage, the pandit, sees the brahmana, the elephant, the dog eater, the dog, all with equal vision. He sees them as spirit soul. This is samatvam, seeing with equal vision. And such a person, is not attracted to sense enjoyment. He doesn't see or external objects. He knows they're going to make him happy. So there's no big pursuit to try and enjoy the senses, or to try and enjoy stuff, or things, or other people. Whose happiness is within, who's active within, who rejoices within, and is illumined within, is the perfect mystic. He's liberated in the Supreme, Brahmanovanam. Then Krishna describes that a person can also attain such liberation through Astanga Yoga, so the process of Astanga Yoga, which Krishna then expands upon in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. And at the end of this chapter, Krishna declares, the sages, knowing me is the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada calls this verse the peace formula, right? Shanti, peacefulness. Seeing, understanding that Krishna is the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities. Bhaktaram Yagna Tapasam Savaloka Maheshvaram. The Savaloka, all worlds, Maheshvaram, the supreme controller of all worlds, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Suridam, Sarvabhutanam. Suridam is the means the well-wisher, right? The friend, the well-wishing friend. Krishna is our well-wishing friend. Suridam, Sarvabhutanam, Sarva, everyone, all, Bhutanam, living entities. So this is, Siri thinks I'm saying Siri. She doesn't realize I'm saying Suridam. So anyway, Krishna is our well-wishing friend. He's the Lord of all the worlds. He's the ultimate beneficiary of all austerities and sacrifice. He's the Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Natva mam shanti richate. So one who knows this, natva, thus knowing this, knowing me, mam, attains peacefulness, shanti. So this verse 29, the end of chapter 5, is an important verse. So we'll come back to that. Okay, so in chapter 5, then there's 6 verse sequences, so which describing here or calling work and devotion is better than renunciation of work. This is the first 6 verses. Krishna then further describes working without attachment. This Nishkama Kama Yoga that we've been talking about throughout chapter 3 and chapter 4. Working without attachment, Krishna describes this further in verses 7 to 12. Then he describes the 3 doers. The 3 doers are the the soul, the modes of nature, and the super soul. This is described in text 13 to 16. Then liberation. This is fixed in the supreme. This is verses 17 to 26. And then liberation, the Ashtanga Yoga preview, this is verses 27 to 28. And then the peace formula in text 29 that we discussed. So the connection to chapter 4 is in verses 35 to 39, as we discussed at length in over the last months, or actually 6 months ago, we discussed these verses. Kṛṣṇa just praised knowledge, just how wonderful transcendental knowledge is. It's like a fire that burns up all the reactions to sinful activities. That is like a boat that one can cross the ocean of material suffering in. Kṛṣṇa, and there was various other analogies Kṛṣṇa gave that's to describe how wonderful transcendental knowledge is. And in texts 16 to 18 of chapter 4, Kṛṣṇa spoke of action and inaction, and inaction in action. Then in text 41, Kṛṣṇa praised both jnana, or knowledge, and renunciation. And then, in text 42, Kṛṣṇa again ordered Arjuna to fight. So Arjuna is kind of like, action and inaction, and jnana, knowledge, and then renunciation. He's just like, he's bewildered, he's confused. And as I mentioned at the start of the class, he's not wanting to fight anyway. If he can avoid this fight, he'll be very happy, or at least he's thinking he'll be happy, or he's not sure. He keeps asking Kṛṣṇa to tell me for certain what's the best thing. What is Shreyas? What's the best thing? Anyway, so Arjuna's confused again. He's unclear on what Kṛṣṇa wants him to do. And he asks almost the same question that he asked Kṛṣṇa at the start of chapter 3. So after Kṛṣṇa, after chapter 2, Kṛṣṇa in chapter 2, he first of all chastises Arjuna. What are you doing? You're like, what are you doing? You're being, crying and breaking down in front of everyone here. You're acting like you're showing weakness. And you're acting like a man-woman, like a non-Aryan. What are you doing, Arjuna? So he chastises him to wake him up. Then after Arjuna then turns to Kṛṣṇa, please, Makshreya Shan Nishitan Bruhitan me, tell me for certain what is most beneficial for me. Please instruct me, I'm a soul surrendered unto you. Sishtayaham Sharimam Tvam Papanam. This text 7. Then Arjuna Kṛṣṇa then explains to Arjuna, you're not the body. Nobody dies. Never in the past have I or you or all these kings here not existed, and never will they cease to exist. That we're reincarnating just as we pass through boyhood to youth to old age. Kamaram Yavanam Jara. And then at death, we take on another body in the same way. So in so many ways, Kṛṣṇa has described the real situation. Then later in the chapter, he described Brahma Nivanam, liberation, and Samadhi, Prajna, knowledge, Pratishtita, being situated in knowledge. So after that discussion, Arjuna was confused. Arjuna, I'm kind of confused. You can sort of see Arjuna scratching his head. I'm not sure what to do, Kṛṣṇa. I'm not, like, you're telling me to fight. One hand you're telling me to fight, the other hand you're talking about being in samadhi. Generally when we think of samadhi, we think of somebody meditating, being in samadhi, being situated in knowledge. This Arjuna asks, at that point, Arjuna asks Kṛṣṇa some questions. Well, what is a person who's situated in samadhi? or knowledge, what do they do? How do they sit? How do they walk? How do they talk? In others, what do they do? And of course he's hoping that the answer is, well, they don't fight in battles. So anyway, but still Krishna is telling him, no, you got to fight. So then Arjuna at the end of chapter 2, he's confused. So the beginning of chapter 3 begins with, Arjuna basically asking Krishna, tell me which is, what I should be doing. Do you want me to fight or not? So, which is better? So Arjuna then asks Krishna, which is better, work or renunciation or work? And Krishna begins his reply. So, text 1. Arjuna said, O Kṛṣṇa, first of all you ask me to renounce work. And then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me, definitely, which of the two is more beneficial? Arjuna uvacha sanyasam kamanam Kṛṣṇa puna yogam cha samsashi yakshreya etayo rekam tanme bruhi sunishitam. Arjuna uvacha sanyasam kamanam Kṛṣṇa puna yogam cha samsashi yakshreya etayo rekam tanme bruhi sunishitam. So Arjuna said, Arjuna uvacha, sanyasam, renunciation, kamanam, of all activities, of actions or deeds, Kṛṣṇa, O Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa, you've praised renunciation of actions, sanyasam, kamanam, renunciation of activities, or throwing them down, abandoning them. But puna, again, or thereafter, samsasi, you're praising, or you approve, you're declaring about yoga, yogam, devotional service, prescribed activities, or it's taken as Krishna is referring to Kama Yoga, the yoga of action, actions undertaken in accordance with dharma or duty, prescribed activities. These prescribed activities are given by Krishna. So performing the duties that are allocated to us according to our status within the Varnashram Dharma. This concept of dharma, again, so important. It's hard for us to appreciate how important it is today, right? Because people are, they don't take duty and responsibility and obligations as being something of so much importance. But in the time in which Bhagavad Gita is spoken, in the context of Vedic society, dharma is everything. Duty, fulfilling one's duty, fulfilling one's responsibilities. Inconceivable to not do it. Of course, I've spoken many times. Arjuna is in this situation here. He's the the balancing factor that makes it so that the Pandavas have a chance to win this battle of Kurukshetra, this war, this fratricidal war, this dynastic war, taking place between the two halves of a family. The Pandavas, the sons of Maharaj Pandu, headed by Maharaj Yudhisthira, versus the sons of Dhritarashtra, headed by Duryodhana. On Duryodhana's side, there's 11 Akshauhini divisions. On the Pandavas' side, there's only 7. There's making up the total of 18. So what is it that makes it so that the 11 versus the 7 is there's a chance for the Pandavas to prevail? What's the difference? The difference is Arjuna. So he has this obligation to all the soldiers on his side. He has an obligation to his family members, his 4 brothers, Maharaj Yudhisthira, Bhimadev, Nakula and Sahadev, to his own son Abhimanyu. Or he has more than one son, but anyway, he has his son Abhimanyu, the son of Subhadra. So he has these obligations. His wife, Draupadi, who's like infuriated by the way she was treated by the Kurus, the sons of Dhritarashtra, that they wanted to disrobe her in a public assembly. And that respected elders such as Bhishma Dev and Drona Acharya and Kripa were letting this happen. They didn't speak out against it. She appeals to them. Why are you letting this happen? She's dragged into the assembly by Dushyasana. She's having a menstrual period. She's covered just in one cloth. And they drag her in by the hair into the assembly. And so she appeals to Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev is known as a Mahajan, one of the 12 great souls. She's appealing to him. Why are you allowing this to happen? An assembly of men, brutal men, it's like you go to a strip club and there's all these men looking at naked women. So this is what's happening here. They're trying to strip her naked in the assembly. She's saying, how is this possible? Maharaj Yudhisthira has gambled away his wife just completely overcome, going essentially crazy in this gambling match. He's staking everything. But when he gambled her, he had already lost himself. So then Draupadi's asking, how is it possible, if he's already lost himself, that he can gamble me? How, this question is raised in the assembly. So she's asking Bhishma Dev, the Mahajan, how is this happening? And Bhishma Dev's response was, the ways of Dharma are very mysterious. So it's like, Draupadi's bummed, man. This is like bad news. How's this possible? Bhima's as angry as all hell, Bhima's like a fiery Kshatriya. Maharaj Yudhisthira is just seeing this as being the ways of Dharma, that everything happens as a result of past activities, the will of the Lord, destiny, providence. This through the Mahabharata. There's just endless discussion amongst the Panditas about why are all these bad things happening to us. And the Bhima and Nakula and Sahadev are saying it's because we didn't kill these guys in the gambling arena. Like they're banished to the forest, they're in nirvana, they're going through all kinds of austerities and hardships and bummers, as a result of this gambling match. And they're all just like, well, we should have killed those guys, man. We should have killed them right there and then. But Maharaj Yudhisthira, being the son of Yamaraj, Dharmaraj, he's very dharmic. So he sees, no, one must perform one's duty. Even though he's been cheated in a gambling match, he's going, well, this is the result of providence. We have to accept our fate. Anyway, so I'm getting a bit of a rave here. The reason for the rave is because what was the reason for the rave? I kind of forget. But is that Arjuna is the balancing factor in this, and he's got this obligation to his brother Maharaj Yudhisthira and to his wife Draupadi, who's bummed as all hell, and to his four, all his brothers and his sons and his uncles and relatives and well-wishers and friends, So he has a duty, he must perform it. It's inconceivable for Arjuna not to fight. How can he possibly not fight? But nonetheless, he has free will. He can choose not to fight. So, like I was saying, any opportunity with anything Krishna says that kind of indicates, well, maybe you don't have to fight Arjuna. Arjuna's like, his ears prick up. Okay, all right, cool. That's what I want to hear, you know. So anyway, so then he's saying in this second, Puna Yogam Chatam Shasi, you know, Sam Sasi, you're praising, you praise, or you're approving, you're declaring, you know, that yoga is better, right? So in the first pada or quarter verse, Arjuna is saying, look, Krishna, you're telling me to renounce sanyasam kamanam, you're telling me to renounce activities, but Puna, then again, or thereafter, you're saying how great yoga is. You know, then yat yakshreya e tayo rekam. You know, yat, which, what, shreya is beneficial, is more beneficial or auspicious or better or preferable, e tayo of these two. Just tell me one. Which one of these two is better? You know, tanmi bruhi su nishitam. That, you know, me, unto me, bruhi, please tell. Su nishitam, definitely, positively, with certainty, firmly resolved in a settled way. Just please tell me which is better. You know, this is what you can just, Arjuna is just like, oh, you know, just please, Krishna, please just tell me which of these two is better. Shreya, you know, I've spoken so many times, you're probably sick to death of it. You know, there's prayas and there's shreyas. Prayas is what is short-term benefit. So Arjuna is thinking for his short-term benefit, best thing is if I don't fight. Just let me out of here. I want to head for the hills. I'm going to engage in meditation. I'm going to renounce. I'm going to become sannyasa. I'm going to renounce the world, and I'm going to pursue jnana. I'm going to sit around reading Sanskrit literatures. I'm going to give up my duty as a kshatriya, my duty as a householder, as a family member, the head of a prince, a responsible family member with children, wives, and so on. I'm going to give all that up, and I'm going to take on the duties of a brahmana sannyas. I'm going to renounce the world and study knowledge, Vedic texts. Because if I do that, I'm not going to have to fight, you know. So he's thinking that's prayas, that's better. Krishna's already told him, look, no, just to perform someone else's duty is dangerous. In other words, don't drop that idea, Arjuna. That is not the right thing. Right? So this is prayas. You know, it's a bit like, well, I really like eating ice cream, you know, so tell me, is it okay if I eat ice cream? If I eat 2 gallons of ice cream every day, is that okay? You know, it tastes great, you know, that's prayas. You know, but shreyas is like, well, heck man, if you eat 2 gallons of ice cream every day, you're going to put on so much weight, you're going to clog up all your arteries, you're going to die prematurely. And after a while, your life's not going to be that much fun because you're going to be like so overweight and then suffering from diabetes and various kinds of diseases that, you know, hey, might be good in the short term, but in the long term, it's bad news, man. But shreyas is like, what is for my long-term benefit? Okay, and this long-term benefit, we have to understand, you know, in the Vedic concept, everybody knows you're not the body. So long-term benefit is not talking about what's good for me in this body, in this life. It's what is good for me on an eternal level. Of course, it can also, you know, be for the what is shreyas for me in this life. But what is shreyas in consideration of everything? What is beneficial for me? And bruhi, tell me, nishitam, tell me definitely. Definitely, I want a clear answer. Please answer me clearly. Because this is what Arjuna asked. Like Arjuna's question in chapter 2, text 7. Makshreya shan nishitan bruhitan me. Krishna, please tell me. Makshreya, what is shreyas, beneficial? Bruhitan me. Tell me. Nishitan, definitely. So he's using the same words. He's basically saying it again. Arjuna asks this in text 7 of chapter 2. You know, He wants to know in that text 7. He wants to know about Dharma. What is my Dharma? What is my duty? What should I be performing? Tell me what is auspicious. What is Shreyas? What should I be doing? And then after chapter 2, Kṛṣṇa then describes all kinds of stuff in chapter 2. It's kind of like a bit of a summary of the Bhagavad Gita in there. And then so in chapter 3, Arjuna says basically the same thing again. Tell me definitely what's the best thing. Kṛṣṇa, I'm confused. Can you please tell me? So in chapter 3, Arjuna says, O Janardana, Keshava, why do you urge me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence, Krishna's been talking about pratishta, prajna, knowledge, is better than fruitive work? My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively what is most beneficial for me. Again, this Nishitam, Bruhi Mishitam. Tell me decisively what is most beneficial, what is Shreyas for me. And then Krishna spoke, chapter 3, all kinds of wonderful instructions, very much about karma yoga, performing duty. Krishna even says, heck, Arjuna, even I perform my duty. If I didn't perform duty, even though I have no duty, I'm the Supreme Lord, I got no duties to perform, but nonetheless, even I perform them. And he gives the example of Janaka Maharaj, who attained perfection through performance of his prescribed duties. And it says, the common people follow. Yad yada charite shreses tatade vitaro janaha. The common people follow a leader. The leader must set the example. Just for the benefit of the common people, you have to perform your duty. This is 3:19. So Arjuna is describing all kinds of things. Krishna is describing all kinds of things in chapter 3. Then in chapter 4, Krishna begins to describe jnana, knowledge, and says what he says in text 41 and 42, which I already touched upon. So then Arjuna is confused again. And he's saying, look, Krishna, please. He's almost begging Krishna. This is like the third time he's asking him, Krishna, please tell me definitely what is Shreyas. So he's getting like desperate to be told. Please tell me. Like, man, please just tell me, what do you want me to do? What is the best thing to do, So this is the state we should be in, We can be like Arjuna is kind of like, Arjuna, of course, is under the influence of Krishna's internal potency, yoga maya. It's not like us. Sometimes we're confused. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. We're just like can feel this fog of ignorance and confusion, coming from lack of intelligence. Or ignorance, ajnana. We're in ignorance. So we get confused. We don't know what to do. This is Kali Yuga. The age of quarrel, chaos, and confusion. Everyone's confused. Nobody is like, we're just in a daze, But Arjuna is not. It's caused by Maya Devi, right? The nature of the material world. But Arjuna is not. Arjuna is under the influence of Krishna's internal pastime potency. His yoga maya potency. His Leela Shakti. For the purpose of his pastimes, Arjuna is experiencing this confusion, so that Krishna can speak Bhagavad Gita. Krishna describes that in the course of time, this teachings of Bhagavad Gita became lost. And now they become nashto, scattered. This is the second verse of chapter 4. Now Krishna is going to speak them again. It's the opportunity. So, but for us, we should want to know the answers. What is the meaning of life? Who am I? Why am I here? We must seek out answers. You must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and inquire submissively and seek answers to the problems of life. This is like the first text in the Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire in the absolute truth. I have the opportunity of a human form of life. Life is temporary. I can die at any moment. There's danger at every step. Right? There's the the story of Janaka Maharaj. There's a anyway, I won't go into that. I'm going over time here. So anyway, we're done with chapter 5, text 1. This is as you can tell, Bhagavad Gita is really exciting. So we can get excited as Kṛṣṇa answers Arjuna's question and begins to tell him what is Shreyas. Begins to tell him definitely what is the best thing. And of course this goes on until chapter 18, where Kṛṣṇa in his conclusion wraps it all up, tells Arjuna, just surrender unto me. Savadaman parityaja mam ekam saranam vraja. Aham tvam sava papibhyo mokshayishyami masuchaha. Just abandon tyaga. Just abandon all varieties of religion or duty, responsibility, dharma. Sava dhamma, all varieties. Sava dhamma parityaja. Just give them up. Give it up. Mam ekam saranam raja. Just surrender unto me. Sharanam. Take shelter. And don't worry. Masuchaha. Don't worry. I will protect you from all sinful activities. So just do what I want you to do. Everything will be cool. This is Krishna's ultimate instruction of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, namaste. Thank you very much. Please forgive me for going too long. Haribo, Krishna. See you next week.